Julia and Ethan's wedding took place on a sunny weekend in Austin, Texas. Surrounded by friends and family, they exchanged emotional vows, sharing promises of eternal love and mutual support. Julia was radiant. She felt that Ethan was the man she wanted to share her entire life with, a kind and generous partner who always provided her with a sense of security and comfort. However, on that same special day, an unexpected revelation brought to light something Julia didn't know about Ethan's past. Moments before the ceremony, in an intimate moment, he revealed to her that he had a disabled brother, whom he had never spoken about. Ethan explained that his brother, Liam, had been diagnosed with a condition that had limited his mobility and communication since childhood. Due to the demands and difficulties that arose when caring for Liam, Ethan's parents had chosen to maintain a discreet life away from the city, where they could take care of him more calmly. Ethan confessed that, growing up, he felt a special responsibility to support his brother, and that it was one of the biggest commitments of his life. He wanted Julia to know from the beginning how much Liam meant to him and how much he wished she could be part of that support. Julia, although surprised by the late confession, felt deeply touched by Ethan's love and dedication to his brother. She realized that by sharing this with her on her wedding day, he was offering her a trust and sincerity that made the moment even more special. His honesty, instead of causing discomfort, made Julia feel even more connected to Ethan. She smiled at him and assured him that she was willing to help him take care of Liam and be a part of his life. Julia understood that by marrying Ethan, she was also making a commitment to his family, including the brother he loved so much. After the wedding, Ethan explained to Julia more details about Liam's life. He said Liam was an affectionate person, with a charming smile and a gentle spirit, despite his physical limitations. Ethan shared that the moments he spent with his brother were always precious, and he knew that Julia's support would make all the difference in their lives. He also mentioned that his brother lived with his parents in an adapted house, where he received the necessary care, but that Ethan wanted to include Liam in his life with Julia. He explained that it wasn't something he wanted to impose, but that it would be important to him if she agreed to meet and support his brother. Julia, with a heart full of compassion, accepted the invitation to meet Liam and be part of this new chapter in Ethan's life. She knew that even though it was a new and challenging situation, the love and support she felt for Ethan would enable her to face any difficulty. For her, the commitment she made at that moment was more than a simple act of kindness. It was a symbol of the love she felt for her husband and the commitment they were willing to build together. Julia felt like she was ready to meet Liam and bond with him, even though she didn't know exactly what to expect. A few weeks after the wedding, Ethan and Julia made their first official visit to his parents' house to meet Liam. Julia was nervous, not knowing what his reaction would be when meeting her. On the way, Ethan tried to reassure her, telling her some stories from their childhood, moments that he and Liam had shared and that revealed his brother's unique and adorable personality. Julia listened intently, trying to absorb as much as possible about Liam's life and the dynamics between him and Ethan. She wanted to be prepared to welcome him with affection and understanding, so that he felt that his life was now also part of Julia's life. When they arrived, Julia finally met Liam. He was sitting in a wheelchair next to the window, looking out at the garden with a shy smile. When he saw his brother and Julia approaching, his eyes shone with happiness. Ethan introduced Julia, and Liam greeted her with a warm smile, conveying a sense of acceptance and kindness. Julia felt immediate empathy for him, noticing the tenderness in his eyes and the unconditional love he had for Ethan. In that moment, she knew that her decision to support Ethan and Liam was the right choice. The meeting was full of significant and emotional moments. Ethan and Julia spent the afternoon talking to Liam, helping him with everyday activities and learning about his needs. Julia noticed how much Ethan cared for his brother with patience and tenderness, and this only made her admire him even more. Little by little, she felt more comfortable and connected to Liam, seeing in him a kindness and lightness that inspired her. At the end of that day, Julia knew her life was about to change, as she was now part of a bigger, more loving family than she imagined. Over time, Liam's presence became more constant in Julia and Ethan's lives. They began to visit Liam frequently, and the bond between Julia and her brother-in-law grew stronger with each meeting. Ethan was especially happy to see how Julia and Liam grew closer, forming a relationship of affection and trust. One night, Ethan needed to be away due to work commitments and asked Julia to spend the night with Liam in case he needed help. Julia accepted without hesitation, happy for the opportunity to spend time alone with Liam and further strengthen her connection with him. The night started off peacefully, with Julia and Liam watching a movie together. She noticed that he paid attention to every detail, laughing and reacting enthusiastically during the most emotional parts. For Julia, it was gratifying to see how something as simple as a movie could bring Liam joy. As he watched, she felt the bond between them becoming stronger and more natural. Liam's presence in her life felt like it was no longer a responsibility, but an opportunity to share special moments with someone who deeply inspired her. After the movie, Julia and Liam sat in the kitchen to talk. He, in his shy way, asked some questions about the wedding and how she and Ethan met. Although her limitations made communication more challenging, Julia made an effort to share everything simply and clearly, and Liam seemed genuinely interested. As the conversation progressed, Julia realized that, despite the difficulties, Liam had a unique sensitivity, capable of capturing the emotions of those around him. She felt that, in a way, he understood the essence of things with a depth that many did not possess. At one point, Julia mentioned that she had noticed some paintings in Liam's room during one of their previous visits. Curious, she asked if he liked painting and if he could show her some of his works. Liam smiled, clearly excited by the invitation, and took her to the bedroom, where he kept several of his paintings on canvas scattered around. Julia was impressed by Liam's talent. His works were colorful and expressive, revealing a worldview full of emotions and vivacity. For her, the paintings reflected not only the skill, but the soul of Liam, who, despite the difficulties, found a unique way to express himself. Julia began examining each painting, asking questions about what each represented and the vibrant colors he used. She realized that, even without many words, Liam had a story to tell through his works. In a painting, he had portrayed a country house surrounded by trees, a place that conveyed peace and welcome. Julia asked if that place really existed, and Liam, with a nostalgic look, confirmed, explaining that it was the place where he spent his childhood holidays with Ethan and his parents. The painting brought back sweet memories for Julia, who felt even more eager to learn more about Liam's life and experiences. As they explored the paintings, Julia and Liam began to share a type of communication that transcended words. There was something about the way he looked at his works and how Julia reacted to them that created a special connection. She felt like she was entering Liam's world, a unique universe where simplicity met depth and where emotions were expressed in unusual ways. At that moment, Julia realized that, despite all his limitations, Liam was an extraordinary person, with a worldview that could inspire and touch the heart of anyone willing to see beyond the surface. Before they said goodbye that night, Liam surprised Julia by presenting her with one of his paintings, a vibrant painting he had recently done. She was moved by the gesture, feeling that the gift symbolized the acceptance and affection he also felt for her. The painting depicted a calm, welcoming landscape, and Julia knew it was Liam's way of showing his affection. With a heart full of gratitude, she thanked him and promised to care for the painting as a treasure. That moment was special for Julia, who knew she had just had an experience that would transform her relationship with Liam forever. After that night, Julia realized that her role in Ethan and Liam's lives was much more significant than she imagined. She understood that being there for Ethan also meant embracing her brother's life and experiences, offering him friendship, understanding, and support. As she lay down that night, with Liam's painting beside her, Julia felt an indescribable peace. She knew that, somehow, her life and Liam's had become intertwined, and that she was now part of a cycle of love and care that would strengthen her new family. After the special night that Julia spent with Liam, her relationship with her brother-in-law took on a new meaning. She and Ethan continued to visit Liam regularly, and Julia found that with each meeting, her bond with him grew stronger. Now, when she entered Ethan's parents' house, she was greeted by an open and excited smile from Liam, who always wanted to show off his new paintings or tell her about something he had discovered. The connection between the two, which had initially been based on their empathy and desire to support Ethan, was now a genuine and deep bond. Julia saw Liam as a source of inspiration and a person whose kindness and lightness made life richer. Over time, Julia began to better understand the daily needs and challenges Liam faced. She spent hours at his side, learning about the routines and care necessary to ensure his comfort and well-being. Although Liam's life was limited in some ways, Julia was surprised by his willingness to always see the positive side of things. He had a charming sense of humor and a view of the world that transformed even the simplest tasks into moments of joy. For Julia, living with him was a constant lesson on how to appreciate the little things and how life can be meaningful, even in the details. As Julia and Liam deepened their relationship, Ethan watched with gratitude and relief. He knew Julia's support was essential to him, but seeing how much she and Liam truly connected was an unexpected gift. One afternoon, he talked to Julia about the positive impact she was having on her brother's life. "You brought Liam new joy," he said, his eyes full of emotion. Julia felt moved by Ethan's words and reaffirmed her commitment to being there for not only him, but Liam as well. She understood that her role in their lives was a choice that required dedication, but that also filled her with purpose. As Julia and Liam's bond grew, she began to think of ways to make her life richer and fuller. Inspired by her conversations with Ethan and his love for his brother, Julia suggested they create activities that more directly engage Liam's interests. In a frank conversation, she mentioned the possibility of going on weekly trips with him, taking him to places he enjoyed, such as art museums and outdoor parks. Ethan loved the idea, as he knew that contact with new experiences and environments could bring even more happiness and vitality to Liam. The first tour they organized was a visit to the Austin Museum of Art. Julia knew the colorful, dynamic displays would make Liam feel inspired and happy. Upon arrival, he was fascinated by the diverse works on display, especially the vibrant paintings and abstract paintings, which seemed to resonate with his creative energy. Julia and Ethan walked Liam through each hallway of the museum, admiring his reaction to each new work and encouraging him to express his opinions. For Julia, seeing Liam's enthusiasm was confirmation that he had a unique artistic sensitivity that just needed stimulation and a welcoming environment. During the walk, Julia noticed that Liam especially liked a painting that depicted a country scene with bright colors and broad brushstrokes. He stared at the work, as if he were absorbing every detail and incorporating that energy. Julia took the moment to suggest that he try to recreate something similar in his own paintings. She knew that artistic expression was a way for Liam to channel his emotions and perhaps relive the country memories he cherished. Liam, with a shy smile, agreed with the suggestion, demonstrating that he felt motivated and inspired by the new idea. Ethan, beside the two, watched with pride how much his wife managed to encourage and support his brother. Over time, these outings became a weekly tradition in Julia, Ethan, and Liam's lives. They began to explore not only museums, but also gardens, art fairs, and even local cultural events. Each outing was an opportunity for Liam to expand his horizons and for Julia and Ethan to further strengthen their family ties. The shared adventures brought new energy to everyone's lives, and, little by little, Liam developed more confidence in his abilities and creative potential. Julia found that her presence helped Liam overcome emotional barriers, providing him with a sense of freedom and belonging that he may never have experienced before. These moments of family bonding also helped Julia see her relationship with Ethan in a new light. The love and care Ethan had for Liam demonstrated his character and commitment to his family. Julia felt deeply connected to her husband because, with him, she experienced an experience of love and support that transcended any other relationship she had had. With each walk, with each smile from Liam and each word of encouragement from Ethan, Julia understood that her family was special, and that the challenges they faced together strengthened them and brought them together in a unique and true way. Motivated by the tours and Julia's suggestion, Liam began painting with even more dedication. Inspired by the works he saw in museums and the places he visited with Julia and Ethan, he began to explore new colors, shapes, and themes. Julia was delighted to see Liam's artistic growth. Each new painting seemed to reflect a unique facet of his personality and his outlook on the world. By following his creative process, Julia felt that, in a way, she was witnessing the purest expression of her brother-in-law's soul. For her, each painting was a revelation, a piece of Liam's life that she was privileged to know. One morning, while Julia and Ethan were at his parents' house for another visit, Liam showed them a new painting, a vibrant interpretation of the country scene that had so caught his eye at the museum. The painting displayed intense shades of green, yellow, and blue, with broad brushstrokes that convey incredible movement and vitality. Julia was amazed at the level of detail and passion he put into the work. For her, that painting was not just a painting. It was a reflection of the positive impact that the outings and family support had brought to Liam's life. It was proof that, despite his limitations, he possessed an internal wealth that manifested itself in an extraordinary way through art. Ethan, upon seeing the new painting, couldn't contain his emotion. He knew how much Liam struggled to express his feelings and desires, and seeing his brother channeling all of that into a work of art was deeply moving. Proudly, he suggested that Liam consider exhibiting his paintings at a local gallery, so that other people could see the talent he possessed. Julia supported the idea, encouraging Liam to share his art with the world. She knew that the exhibition could be an enriching experience for him, allowing him to feel valued and recognized for his artistic skills and sensibilities. However, Liam, despite his initial enthusiasm, showed some hesitation about the idea of exhibiting his works. He was unsure how the public would react and whether they would truly appreciate his work. Julia realized that he felt vulnerable, because opening his art to the world meant sharing a very intimate part of himself. To help him overcome this fear, Julia proposed that, instead of a formal exhibition, they organize a small exhibition at Harmonia, a restaurant owned by a friend of hers that used to host artistic and cultural events. She assured Liam it would be a low-key, welcoming event for close friends and family only. The idea of a smaller exhibition pleased Liam, who began to prepare with more confidence. He carefully chose the paintings he wanted to show, with the help of Julia and Ethan, who encouraged and supported him every step of the way. Julia, always attentive, helped plan every detail of the event, ensuring that everything reflected Liam's style and personality. Her friend, owner of Harmonia, provided a special space in the restaurant, where Liam's paintings could be displayed in a harmonious and welcoming way. For Julia, organizing this exhibition was a way to demonstrate the importance Liam had in her life, a way to honor his artistic and personal journey. On the day of the expo, Liam was nervous but excited. Julia and Ethan remained by his side, encouraging him and giving him confidence. Friends, family, and acquaintances of the family attended the event, all curious and eager to see Liam's talent in each painting. As guests arrived and praised his work, he felt increasingly comfortable and confident. For Liam, that night was more than just an exhibition. It was an acknowledgement of who he was, an affirmation of his worth and his ability to touch people through his art. Julia and Ethan, upon observing the success of the event, felt deeply grateful to be part of that special moment. At the end of the night, Liam, his eyes shining with joy, thanked Julia for all her support and encouragement. He knew that without her and Ethan, he would never have had the courage to share his work with the world. For Julia, that thank you was one of the most moving moments of her life, as she felt that she was fulfilling the role she had promised to Ethan, to be a loving and constant presence in her brother-in-law's life. When leaving the restaurant that night, Julia, Ethan, and Liam knew that this exhibition marked the beginning of a new phase, where Liam could freely explore his talent, and where the family union became even stronger. That night, Julia reflected on everything she had experienced since meeting Liam and the impact he had had on her own life. For her, her relationship with him was a source of constant learning, a reminder that life can be enriching and fulfilling, even in the face of challenges. When she went to bed, Julia felt a deep peace, knowing that, alongside Ethan and Liam, she was building a life of love, respect, and overcoming. From that moment on, she knew that her family was more than a union of blood ties. It was a connection of souls and purposes that would continue to grow and strengthen. As time passed, Julia, Ethan, and Liam consolidated a routine that balanced each other's needs and dreams. Although they were happy together, Julia soon realized that living with Liam also brought challenges. Some nights, when Ethan needed to travel for work, Julia was the only one responsible for looking after Liam, and the situations weren't always easy. Understanding and meeting his brother-in-law's specific needs required patience, empathy, and, above all, a constant willingness to learn. Despite the affection she had for him, Julia sometimes found herself facing physical and mental fatigue, wondering if she would be able to cope with the daily demands without Ethan's direct support. Ethan, upon realizing Julia's difficulties, made a point of showing himself to be present even from a distance. One night when Julia was feeling especially overwhelmed, he called her and encouraged her, reminding her that he was there to support her in whatever she needed. He praised her for her commitment and patience, assuring that together they would find ways to make the routine easier for everyone. Ethan's words touched Julia deeply, and she felt renewed when she realized that her husband valued her efforts and was willing to adjust whatever was necessary to make their family life balanced and happy. Seeking to ease Julia's burden, Ethan proposed that they hire a caregiver to support Liam during his busier periods. Julia was relieved at the idea because she understood that having extra help would allow her and Ethan to have more time for their relationship and to take care of themselves. After talking to Liam about the proposal, he accepted the idea, as long as the caregiver was someone he could trust. Together, they interviewed a few candidates, looking for someone who understood the importance of the role they would play. Eventually, they found Linda, an experienced and caring caregiver, with whom Liam quickly formed a positive bond. Linda's arrival brought a new dynamic to the family. With her support, Julia and Ethan were able to divide responsibilities more evenly, allowing Julia to dedicate time to other activities that made her happy. She went back to school and even resumed her interest in painting, inspired by Liam's talent. For her, painting was a way to relax and reconnect with herself, remembering the importance of also taking care of her own dreams and interests. This new routine brought a sense of renewal to Julia, who now felt even more prepared to support her family with willingness and joy. The days that followed were of growth and adaptation for everyone. Ethan noticed how Julia blossomed with Liam and how she found the strength within herself to face the challenges of being a wife and caregiver at the same time. He admired her more and more, recognizing the essential role she played in everyone's lives. One night, as they returned from a family gathering, Ethan opened up to Julia and shared how grateful he was for her love and patience. For him, Julia's commitment and dedication were proof that he had chosen the right person to share his life and care for his brother. Julia, moved, felt even more strengthened upon hearing her husband's words. Linda's presence also provided Liam with an opportunity to build a new friendship and expand his independence. He began to have more freedom to carry out his daily activities and, with Linda's encouragement, explored new interests, such as gardening and cooking. For Julia, it was gratifying to see Liam discovering new talents and broadening his horizons. With each new learning experience, he became more confident and autonomous, and this brought emotional relief to everyone, who now saw Liam increasingly happy and fulfilled in his activities. The relationship with Linda became an indispensable support, providing Julia and Ethan with more security in the life they were building together. However, even with Linda's support, Julia knew that the emotions and responsibilities involved in caring for Liam remained an important part of her routine. There were times when she felt exhausted, but it was in those moments that she found strength by remembering the smiles and joys she shared with Liam. Each challenge faced was also a way of strengthening the love that united the family, and Julia began to see difficulties as part of her personal growth. For her, taking care of Liam was not just a responsibility, but an opportunity to experience love in its purest and most selfless form. Over time, the family's routine began to adjust. Julia, Ethan, and Liam created a mutually supportive environment where each knew they could count on the other. The harmony they built was the result of effort and understanding, honest dialogue, and constant adjustments. Julia knew that this path was not easy, but she increasingly realized that unity and the strength of love overcame any difficulty. Alongside Ethan and Liam, she discovered that being a family was a daily challenge, but also an endless source of joy, growth, and satisfaction. With Julia and Ethan's continued support, and now Linda's constant presence, Liam felt increasingly confident to explore new possibilities. He returned to dedicate himself intensely to painting, and the encouragement from everyone around him only increased his motivation. Julia, who had always been his biggest supporter, proposed that he participate in a local art exhibition, where artists with disabilities presented their works. The idea made Liam a little nervous, but also excited. He knew the exhibition would be an opportunity to share his art with the world, and having Julia and Ethan by his side made it easier. In the days leading up to the exhibition, Julia and Ethan helped Liam select his best works and prepare emotionally for the event. They knew that this would be a memorable experience for him, and they wanted everything to be perfect. Julia, especially, dedicated herself to helping Liam organize his works and put together a portfolio, something he had never had before. With each painting chosen, Liam felt more confident and proud of his work. Julia noticed the sparkle in his eyes and knew that this was a moment of great accomplishment. The effort he put into every detail showed how much that event meant to him. On the night of the exhibition, the place was full of friends, family, and other artists, all eager to see the works of Liam and the other participants. When it was his turn to present his paintings, he looked to Julia and Ethan for encouragement. They smiled and waved, conveying all the support and confidence he needed. With a trembling voice, but with a sincere smile, Liam presented his works, explaining the inspiration behind each of them and sharing the creative process he adopted. People were struck by the depth and beauty of his work, and he received a standing ovation. Julia and Ethan watched Liam with pride, thrilled by his success. For Julia, seeing her brother-in-law recognized for his talent was an invaluable reward. She knew how hard he fought to get there, and how much that moment meant to him and his family. After the performance, several guests approached Liam to praise him and even buy some of his paintings. He was surprised and extremely grateful for people's receptivity and affection. For him, that event was not just an exhibition. It was a milestone of overcoming and an important step towards its independence. Inspired by Liam's success, Julia suggested he turn his passion for art into something even greater. She encouraged him to teach painting classes to young people with disabilities, so he could share his skills and enthusiasm for art with others who were also looking for ways to express themselves. Liam liked the idea and, with the help of Julia and Ethan, began organizing weekly workshops at a local community center. Julia offered to accompany him to classes, helping him plan activities and coordinate students. For her, watching Liam teach was a privilege, as he conveyed a unique patience and understanding. The painting classes became a success, and Liam became a reference among young people at the community center. He taught with enthusiasm and sensitivity, encouraging each student to explore their own creativity and develop a unique expression. Julia watched Liam's growth with admiration, feeling that he had found an even greater purpose in his life. She noticed that by sharing his talent and experiences, he not only helped students develop, but also strengthened himself emotionally, creating a network of support and friendship that brought him great happiness. One afternoon, after a particularly lively class, Liam approached Julia and thanked her for everything she had done for him since the beginning. He knew that without her encouragement, he might never have found the courage to exhibit his art or to teach. Julia, moved, replied that he was the one who had taught her a lot about patience, generosity, and the importance of persisting even in the face of difficulties. To her, Liam was more than a brother-in-law. He was a friend and a teacher in life, someone who inspired her daily to be a better person and to see the value in small achievements. Over time, Liam's classes began to attract more students, and he decided to create a small studio at home, where he could teach in a closer and more welcoming environment. Julia and Ethan helped him organize the space, equipping him with paints, brushes, and canvas. The studio became a special place for everyone, a place of art and friendship where Liam shared not only his talent, but also the story of overcoming that marked his life. For Julia, the studio was a symbol of how much her family had grown, a reminder that with love and support, everyone can find their own path and achieve their dreams. As the months went by, Julia and Ethan began planning a special trip with Liam, a way to celebrate his achievements and reward him for all his effort and dedication. They decided to take him to a place that had meaning, where he could find new inspiration for his art. They chose to visit Yosemite National Park in California, with its lush landscapes and mountains that seemed to touch the sky. Julia believed that contact with nature would be a unique experience for Liam, offering him a moment of peace and inspiration that he so deserved. For them, that trip would be an opportunity to create new memories as a family, further strengthening the bond they have built over time. When they told Liam about the trip, he was thrilled and excited about the news. He couldn't believe he would have the chance to explore such a majestic place and share the experience with Julia and Ethan. They spent days planning every detail, so Liam could enjoy every moment in comfort and safety. Julia, attentive to his needs, researched the park's accessibility points and organized an adapted itinerary so he could make the most of it. The trip, which was initially just an idea, turned into a long-awaited event, a celebration of overcoming and the love that united the family. When they arrived at the park, Liam was impressed by the grandeur of the mountains and the natural beauty around them. For him, every tree, every stone, and every river seemed to tell a story, and Julia noticed the sparkle in his eyes as he absorbed the landscape. He took photos and made notes about the colors and shapes he observed, planning to transform those memories into future paintings. Ethan and Julia walked alongside Liam, watching him with pride and excitement. For Julia, seeing Liam exploring this new landscape was a reminder of how life is made up of precious moments and how every achievement, no matter how small it may seem, is an important step in someone's journey. One afternoon, while they were at an observation point overlooking Yosemite's famous rock formations, Liam asked for a moment alone to reflect and absorb what he was seeing. Julia and Ethan respected his request, stepping back a little and letting him have a moment of introspection. From afar, Julia watched Liam in silence, reflecting on how much he had grown since she met him. She felt a deep admiration for him, for the way he faced his limitations and how he found beauty and purpose in every experience. For Julia, that moment in Yosemite was more than a trip. It was the realization of a journey of love, patience, and mutual support. After a few minutes, Liam called Julia and Ethan back. He, visibly moved, thanked them both for providing that unforgettable experience. With a shaky voice, Liam expressed how grateful he was to have a family that loved and supported him, and how each of them helped him discover new parts of himself. Julia, touched by Liam's words, felt accomplished. She knew that the path they had walked together had not been easy, but realizing how valued and loved he felt made every challenge insignificant. For her, that moment of gratitude was proof that all the effort had been worth it. During the trip, Julia and Liam had a candid conversation about the achievements and challenges he has faced over the years. He told her about the fears and insecurities he carried, but also about the sense of freedom he had found in art and the support of his family. Julia listened intently, feeling honored that Liam trusted her to share his deepest emotions. She knew that that conversation was a manifestation of the love and trust they built together, a bond that transcended words and was expressed in small gestures of affection and understanding. To her, Liam was more than a brother-in-law. He was an essential part of her life and her own journey of growth. Before leaving the park, Liam made one last stop to admire the landscape. He looked around, took a deep breath, and with a smile, promised Julia and Ethan that he would turn the experience into a new series of paintings. He wanted those works to reflect the beauty and peace he found in Yosemite, as well as the love he felt for his family. For Julia, Liam's promise was proof of how much he valued shared moments and how art remained his way of expressing his deepest feelings. Upon hearing his promise, Julia and Ethan hugged, moved, knowing that that moment would be immortalized in everyone's memories. Upon returning home, Julia and Ethan realized that the trip had changed Liam in a special way. He seemed more confident and inspired, full of ideas and motivated to expand his artistic talent. For Julia, that trip was more than a celebration. It was a renewal of the love and commitment she and Ethan made in caring for Liam. The experience in Yosemite left a mark on each of them, strengthening the bonds they had built over the years and confirming that, together, they could face any challenge and achieve all the dreams they shared. Upon returning from the trip, Liam dedicated himself intensely to capturing the essence of Yosemite in his paintings. Each painting he produced was a reminder of what he had experienced with Julia and Ethan, an artistic expression that reflected not only the landscape, but also the feelings and emotions he had felt while exploring that special place. Julia, moved by seeing Liam's works, noticed that each brushstroke conveyed the peace, admiration, and love he had experienced. She could see that Liam's art continued to evolve, enriched by the experiences they shared as a family, and this filled her with pride and gratitude. Not only did Liam produce a series of Yosemite-inspired paintings, but he also began writing short descriptions about each work, something he had never done before. With encouragement from Julia and Ethan, he decided to share these works at a community event, organized by the center where he taught his painting classes. Julia, excited about the idea, helped him plan every detail, making sure the event reflected the spirit of Liam and his journey. She knew that moment was special, an opportunity for Liam to show his evolution as an artist and to further strengthen the bonds that united him with the community. On the day of the exhibition, the community center was decorated with Liam's paintings and descriptions, creating an atmosphere of welcome and inspiration. Friends, students, family, and even new visitors came to support his work. Seeing people's support and affection, Liam felt deeply moved. For him, that event was more than an exhibition. It was a recognition of who he had become, a man who found his form of expression and overcoming in art. Julia, observing Liam's joy, felt that her role in his and Ethan's lives was much more than a choice. It was a purpose. During the exhibition, Julia and Ethan were approached by several people who praised Liam's talent and sensitivity. They were inspired by his story of overcoming and by the dedication his family had in supporting him. Some visitors, with tears in their eyes, shared their own stories of family challenges and expressed how much Liam's journey and Julia and Ethan's support motivated them to find the strength to face their difficulties. For Julia, hearing these testimonies was moving. She realized that in some ways, her family not only overcame obstacles, but also inspired and brought hope to others. At the end of the event, Liam took the stage to thank everyone for their support and love. With his voice breaking, he spoke about the role of Julia and Ethan in his life, about the love and patience with which they have always supported him. He especially thanked Julia for encouraging him to explore art and for always believing in his potential, even when he himself had doubts. Liam's words touched everyone, and Julia felt an indescribable emotion when she saw the impact they had on his life. For her, that thank you was proof that, despite the challenges, her dedication and love really made a difference. Upon returning home, Ethan and Julia reflected on the journey they had experienced alongside Liam. They knew that life would not always be easy and that they would still face challenges. But as they looked back on each step they took, from their wedding day to the event at the community center, they realized how much they had grown as individuals and as a family. Julia felt blessed to have Ethan and Liam by her side, and knew that together they would continue to support and inspire each other, facing obstacles with strength and overcoming each with love. Inspired by the success of the exhibition, Julia and Ethan encouraged Liam to continue teaching and sharing his talent with the community. They talked about the possibility of creating an inclusive art program that would offer free classes for people with disabilities or those facing emotional difficulties. Liam loved the idea, as he knew that art had been a transformative point in his life, and he wanted others to also experience the healing power of creativity. Julia offered to help with the organization, and together they began to take the first steps to make the project a reality. In the months that followed, the community project gained momentum and attracted support from various community members and even local businesses. Julia, Ethan, and Liam dedicated themselves diligently to the program, which became a source of joy and satisfaction for everyone involved. For Julia, seeing the happiness and purpose Liam found in helping others discover the world of art was an invaluable reward. She knew that, alongside him and Ethan, they would continue to build a meaningful life full of love, where each challenge was an opportunity to further strengthen the bond that united the family. As the community arts program gained more visibility, Julia, Ethan, and Liam realized the profound impact they were making on people's lives. The program had become a meeting place for people of all ages and abilities, where everyone was welcomed and encouraged to explore their creativity without judgment. The classes, initially small and focused on students with disabilities, grew to include people looking for a space to express themselves and reconnect with their emotions. For Liam, teaching art has become more than an activity. Now it was his mission, something that brought him fulfillment and purpose. Days in the studio were full of laughter, color, and shared stories. Julia observed with affection the way Liam interacted with the students, each with unique challenges, but all willing to express themselves. For her, Liam's work represented an example of how art can transform lives, offering an outlet for difficult feelings and helping people find beauty in even the darkest days. Julia also noted the impact the show had on Liam. He was more confident, felt valued, and gained new independence by leading classes and supporting students with wisdom and patience. The program's success caught the attention of a local foundation, which, upon seeing the potential for social transformation in Liam's classes, proposed a partnership. The foundation offered financial support to expand activities, allowing the art program to reach more people and include weekly workshops and even art events in the city. Julia and Ethan were elated with the proposal, as they knew that Liam would be able to reach even more lives with his work. The news was proof that their dedication was being recognized and that everyone's efforts were truly valuable to the community. Liam, although surprised by the success of the program, accepted the opportunity with humility and gratitude. He knew that Julia and Ethan's support was essential for him to get this far, and, in each class, he remembered their words and encouragement. During a special conversation, he thanked them both for believing in him and helping him achieve something he never imagined possible. An emotional Julia told Liam he was a source of inspiration to her and to many. For her, seeing Liam's transformation was a confirmation that all the love and effort they put into their family life were reciprocated in a special way. With funding from the foundation, Julia, Ethan, and Liam were able to expand the studio space and equip it with new materials, accessible to people with different needs. Julia led the organization of the new studio, creating an inclusive and welcoming environment where each student felt valued and encouraged to express their artistic vision. Renovating the space was a celebration for everyone, and many students and community members helped with the decorations, painting murals and hanging Liam and the students' work on the walls. For Julia, that studio was more than a physical space. It was the representation of a family united for a greater purpose. As the studio went from strength to strength, Liam realized he was also teaching Julia and Ethan something important. For him, the real lesson was in the love that each person put into each gesture, each word of encouragement, and each day they spent together. He shared with Julia that, even with physical limitations, life offered endless possibilities to create and leave a mark on the world. Julia understood that Liam inspired her not only to be a more compassionate person, but to see the world through the eyes of someone who always finds a reason to smile and to persist. As the program grew, Julia and Ethan organized a celebration event open to the community to celebrate the studio's achievements and honor the students and Liam's dedication. The night was full of emotions, with presentations of paintings, sculptures, and even poetry created by the participants. The community, moved, felt grateful to have such an inclusive and welcoming space in their city. Julia and Ethan were beaming, watching as the initial idea of teaching art had become a life project for Liam, who was now recognized as a leader and a mentor, someone who showed how to overcome challenges with perseverance and creativity. At the end of the night, Liam took the stage to give a thank you speech. He expressed his love for Julia and Ethan, thanking them for never giving up on him and for supporting him so warmly. He said that that project was not just his, but that of everyone who believed that art and love could transform lives. For Julia, hearing Liam's words was one of the greatest rewards of her life. She knew that no matter the difficulties they faced together, the love and support they built as a family were able to open new doors and make dreams come true that once seemed distant. Since this event, Liam's studio has become a reference space in the community. He became an inspiration to many and living proof that overcoming and family support can transform realities. Julia and Ethan proudly continued to actively participate in the project, collaborating on new ideas and always ensuring the studio maintained its welcoming and inclusive spirit. For Julia, the studio represented not only Liam's achievements, but also the very journey of love and understanding that she and Ethan chose to follow alongside him. As the studio consolidated, Liam continued to expand its activities and welcome new students. Julia and Ethan noticed the sparkle in his eyes and the energy he brought to each class. The project had given Liam new purpose and helped him feel complete. He was no longer just an artist. He was a mentor, a leader, and a reference for everyone who knew him. His story motivated other families to believe in the power of unity and support, and the studio was proof that bonds of love could overcome any difficulty. Julia and Ethan decided that, together with Liam, they would start an even bigger project. They wanted to take inclusive art classes to other cities and communities, sharing the experience and methods they developed. With the help of the foundation, they began to draw up an expansion plan, carrying the message that art can be an instrument of empowerment for people of all ages and abilities. The idea was to create a network of studios like Liam's, where people with and without disabilities could express themselves and discover their potential. For Julia, that dream was the realization of a family legacy that she hoped would last for many generations. Over the years, Julia and Ethan had children, and Liam became a beloved uncle and an example of strength and resilience to children. He shared his passion for art and the importance of finding joy in every moment with his nephews, teaching them to paint and explore their own creativity. For Julia, seeing her children growing up alongside Liam was a blessing, as she knew they were learning valuable lessons about love, acceptance, and overcoming. She and Ethan felt they were creating a family with strong values, where respect and empathy were cultivated every day. When the studio turned a decade old, Julia and Ethan organized a big celebration, inviting everyone who had participated in that story over the years. The celebration brought together old and new students, family friends, foundation members, and even other families who had followed their example and created their own inclusive projects. For Julia, that event was the consecration of a dream that seemed impossible at first. Seeing so many people come together around an ideal, she understood that the love and dedication they shared with Liam echoed throughout the community. During the celebration, Julia and Ethan gave a speech, thanking everyone for the support and affection they always showed towards Liam and the studio. For Julia, that moment was an important milestone in the family's life. She knew that the work they started had turned into a lasting legacy, something that would continue to impact future generations. Julia expressed her gratitude to everyone and especially to Liam for being the source of inspiration for something so great. With tears in her eyes, she declared that he was living proof that, with love and determination, it is possible to transform any challenge into a journey of overcoming and hope. At the end of the event, Liam, surrounded by his students and family, watched with emotion everything he had built over the years. He knew that each achievement was only possible thanks to Julia and Ethan's unconditional support, and he felt deeply grateful. Julia, seeing Liam smile, felt at peace, knowing that she had helped build a fulfilling life for him and the entire family. She knew that the challenges would never cease, but she felt prepared to face them, as she had a family by her side that strengthened her. That event marked the beginning of a new phase for Julia, Ethan, and Liam. United by love and dedication, they continued to build a life where each person could fully be who they were, without limitations. For Julia, the art studio was more than a physical space. It was the legacy of a family that chose love and mutual support as the pillars of its history. And so, as the sound of laughter and conversation filled the studio that night, Julia understood that her purpose was complete: to help Liam and Ethan build a life where love and art were eternal.